transformational learning and how we, as adult learners, we as individuals, can continuously learn from our situations to transform our views and thoughts. So I'd like to start out with a quote by Dr. Bell Hooks, who's also an educator. And Dr. Hooks says, "I entered the classroom with the conviction that it was crucial for me and every student to be an active participant, not a passive consumer. Education as the practice of freedom. Education that connects the will to know with the will to become. Learning is a place where paradise can be created." And I truly believe that learning is a place where paradise can be created. And I'd like to start out with sharing with you a little story. Recently, I asked a friend what she loves about me, and she ever so passionately and eagerly shared with me how she loves my willingness to learn and grow from reading, from traveling, talking with people, life experiences, personal development opportunities. And she says, when you listen to you, you can always hear your curiosity to learn, and you can see your excitement and zest for knowledge. What an incredible attribute you have. How did you get to be that way? Well, personally, I believe as children that we're eager to learn. We take on learning to know how to navigate in life by watching our parents and by going to school. At some point, we yearn for the day that we'll be able to be adults and we no longer have to learn because we all know it all, right? Not realizing that learning is a lifelong process. You see, for me, I was exposed to the concept of lifelong learning by an interaction that lasted no more than a few minutes that changed my life forever. It happened during my undergraduate tenure at Georgia State University. On the way to the library, I ran into our president, Dr. Langdale, who had just recently retired from Georgia State University. And as he opened the door for me on this bright spring day, I asked him, "Sir, what are you doing here? You're retired. You should be at home relaxing." Back in the day, my assumption was that when you're retired, you just sit around and relax. And he said to me, "Young lady, you never stop learning. The day you stop learning is the day you die." And I was just astonished. I was like, wow. And he walked away with having said that comment, not realizing that that comment forever changed my view on learning. Here was a man who had given his life to education, teaching, and serving. He was on his way to the library to continue his learning. I recall how that comment shifted my view on going through college. Not just to get the grade, but to learn and expand my view of life and my experience of living. So the question might arise, can anything and everything be a teacher and teach you? Yes, I hold the view that there is learning in everything. So let's take a minute. I like to define learning. Let's define learning. Learning means change. You take on learning something and something is now different, whether it be an attitude, a behavior, or a skill, or a new view of looking at oneself and one's world. Now, as an instructor who deals with young adults in her classroom, I'm committed that learning be a space for paradise, as Dr. Hooks stated. Now, how do I do that? How can I lead my students to be better? How can I lead my students to be doing greater good and be better citizens in the world and society and in their communities and in their own personal life? Well, let's start out with a few definitions. And the first definition that I'd like to share with you is the definition of transformation, which is about change. So the theory concerns itself on fundamental changes and how an individual sees the world. So the theory operates on a comprehensive way to understand the process of how an adult learner critically examines their beliefs, their assumptions, and their views in acquiring knowledge, new knowledge, and correspondingly shift their worldviews to incorporate new ideas, views, and expectations. So I like to actually give you a little bit more about the theory about transformational learning by Mezirow, who is someone who's one of the founders of the theory, who's done a lot of work around it, has a strong foundation on transformational theory. And Mezirow says that transformational learning refers to transforming a problematic frame of reference to make it more dependable in our adult life by generating opinions and interpretations that are now justified. We become critically reflective of those beliefs that become problematic. Frames of reference may be highly individualistic or shared as a paradigm. Transformational learning is a way of problem solving by defining a problem, by redefining or reframing the problem. So another way to look at this is possibly to get a new understanding that we attempt to integrate into our prior beliefs and assumptions. So this is where we could say that the beliefs may be problematic. So once we have critically examined our beliefs and relate to our frames of reference, our challenges, we could actually have an experience of learning, of transformational learning. So, as Mezirow stated, this process includes, redefining a problem. So, how do we redefine, and what are some of the processes that we do this through? So, Mezirow goes on to say that transformation often follows some variation of a few steps. So, first of all, what is the disorienting dilemma? Right? Looking at the disorienting dilemma. And then doing some self-examination with feelings of shame, whether it's feelings of shame, fear, guilt, or anger. And then we do a critical assessment of the assumptions that we have around this problem. And then we recognize that once content and process of transformation are shared, it's not just my problem, it's a community problem. And then we explore our options for new rules, relationships, and actions. And then we actually create a plan of course of action to go through this problem. And we go about acquiring knowledge of skills for implementing one's plan. So where do I go acquire some new skills to go through this process, to go through this problem that I have? Building self-confidence and competency in these new rules and relationships. And then lastly, he talks about reintegration into one's life on the basis of conditions that they're now dictated by one's new view of this new perspective. So looking at our problem, finding out, recognizing it, exploring the different options, planning a course of action, acquiring new skills, and new roles, and building some confidence, all are part of this process where we cause learning and have that learning be a transformation process for us. So, there are different concepts also that we can look at when it comes to transformational learning. We have our life experiences, we have critical reflection, and we also have development. So learning can happen through critical reflection, where one can become aware of their existing assumptions. And then let that awareness lead you to understanding, lead you to challenging your assumptions that you have about your problem. And then this learning or awareness then allows you to shift your thinking into a new, more productive action and behavior. this view of transformational learning, this theory of transformational learning, which is very clear and has been around since 1978. It's about fundamental change of an individual and how that individual sees the world. And it helps us to operate in a comprehensive comprehensive way as an adult, to examine our beliefs and our assumptions and values in acquiring knowledge and corresponding this shift of our views and our assumptions into new ideas and values and expectations as we walk through the world. So, as we walk through the world, and what are we committed to as we walk through the world? What is the change in us? As Gandhi says, be the change that you want to see in the world. What is the change in us and who I am that I can take away the assumptions and beliefs and then make an impact on the community, on the society, on the world? So as an educator, I believe that it's my duty to give my students the opportunity to create new beliefs, to new assumptions as they walk through the world. And how do I do that? How do I foster this transformational learning? Well, I like Taylor's point of view, who says that fostering transformational learning is much more than implementing a series of instructional strategies with the adult learners. Transformational learning is first and foremost about educating from a particular worldview, a particular educational philosophy. And my philosophy is to be cultivating future leaders who are globally aware and who are socially responsible global citizens. And how do I do that in my classroom? Well, I do that by employing some of Daslow's concepts, which is by having inclusiveness in the classroom, by bringing them all together with their backgrounds and differences and getting to know each other. So creating an environment in the classroom that has mutual respect, that has common ground. And I encourage reflective discussion on creating this commitment with them. And we work together with not just ourselves, but with our other communities. We go out and we create partnerships. And I create with our nonprofits outside that are impacting education that can impact them being social citizens, responsible social citizens. So I create opportunities for them to do experiential learning opportunities. So we actually go out and volunteer together as a class. And then lastly, I provide them with opportunities to do reflection of their life on the community and what they're learning. And I can't tell you how much the students learn from that. So I recognize that learning is a process that can transforms one's view, enhance one's knowledge, one's skills, values, worldviews of life experience. So I'm going to leave you with something. What is your stance on learning and enhancing yourself? What are you willing to expand and cultivate around your already awesome life? So I'm going to invite you to use these questions to begin to observe yourself in life, to notice patterns and habits around how you learn. And at the end of your day, each day, scan your day and note what happened and how you reacted. Okay, so these questions are: from whom or what situation did you learn from the most today? From whom or what situation was it most difficult for you to learn from today? Why was that difficult? And how will you put what you learned into action? I invite you to do reflection on these questions every day and see how will they impact your view of your life and how will they cultivate your already awesome life and for you to have a future that's full of lifelong learning until you're gone. So I thank you very much, and here's to happy and fruitful learning.